Hey gang, what's up? Just Ehren right here, Canadian Looney. It's going to be a wacko Wednesday. Hopefully it's going to be exciting. We've got a great show lined up. Just to kick things off here, want to say hello to my man Mike Malosh. Appreciate the support, seeing you all the time. My guy, Mr. Pickles. What am I going to say, man? Good to see you. Raz, you've been here with me watching these question periods for a long period of time. Appreciate you tuning in all the time. I know there's options out there. My man, Steve Bloy, you're one of the funniest people in this chat room. Love it. And good afternoon, Rory. What is up, my man? Rory, maybe we'll get you on the show at the tail end today. Like, if you're up for that, let me know in the comments later on. And Steve, if you want to come on the show, also interested in that, guys, a little bit of bad news. My channel's been taking some hits. I ran a show on Sunday night that I thought was important to show, but ever since then, I've been under the scrutiny of YouTube. And not going to complain too much about that, but let me tell you, freedom of speech, that's a thing. Like, imagine a guy like the stuff that I do on my channel, they're demonetizing me. Like, what do we do here? We show what has happened in the world or what is happening. I don't comment too much. Like, let you guys make up your own mind. That's what this is about. Like, showing you what's going on, not telling you what's going on, showing you. And just a tough one. Thank you, Raz. That's super duper, man. Just me. Good to see you. Joe Sofat, what is going on? Awesome, man. Back again. Good to see. Sylvain Robert, awesome. Christine Noseworthy, always a pleasure. Good to see you in the chat room. I'll get around to sending out some typing chats. We do have a great show lined up to show. And I think there's about a half hour before things get kicked off on Parliament Hill today. For some reason, they're starting everything late. There haven't been any committee meetings to this point, but we do have a show lined up. And you guys heard about the devastation in Israel yesterday. So we're going to kick it off with that. Actually, we're going to do our little intro first because it gets me all pumped up. Welcome to everybody. Janet Nunn, good to see you. What is going on? Tommy Temper, welcome to the chat room. It's good to see you. Good to have you here. Sorry, it's hard to remember everybody when everything's happening so quickly. Anyways, we're going to jump into these videos. We've got some things to show that are a lot of fun. Let's get into it.
I don't want to be negative, but I don't think anything's ever going to get better ever again.
Oh, hello. Do you have a warrant to be here?
Oh, yeah.
What's up, Papa Beach? Francine Fortier, good to see you, always.
Wiggle and squirm as you might, it is really hard to put lipstick on a pig.
When I'm Prime Minister, I will keep my promises. WTF. Here.
I know this place is where I am. No other place is better than. No matter where I go, I am proud to be Canadian. I am, you know I am. The world that works.
The one we call Canadian.
Gentlemen, beam me aboard.
I am Canadian.
today of another terrorist attack in Tel Aviv. More than 200 missiles launched into Israel from Iran, with sirens sounding in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, in every major city across the country, as nearly an entire population took shelter in place. There is no better time than tonight to talk about the brutality of the Iranian regime, the most destabilizing force of evil in a region, and the puppet masters for the proxy armies who have wreaked havoc on millions of innocent people in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Iran, and of course in Israel. The attack appears far bigger than the last one in April, and it should be the clearest of indications that Western values, that peace and security, that the stability of the entire region are all at risk because of the fundamentalists that have for a generation taken Iran back into the Stone Ages. And over the last number of weeks, they were deeply wounded, they were humiliated, and they were finally weakened. And it should have been very simple to state unequivocally that Israel, especially on a day where millions were forced into shelters and innocent civilians were killed in a terrorist attack, that it had the right, the duty, and the responsibility to defend itself. It should be easy to unequivocally state that this country should fight to eradicate terror. And instead, we got this from a foreign minister who's not just naive about terror, but outside of her depth on almost every conversation since and before October 7th. And quite frankly, it's humiliating for her, and it's humiliating for the entire country. So instead of a comment on fighting terror, her words were the following. I'm going to quote, "The attacks from Iran will only serve to further escalate the region, and therefore that is why I've been in contact with my Israeli counterpart this morning, and I have been in contact with G7 foreign ministers, as well as Arab countries' foreign ministers. This is a very dangerous time for the Middle East, and we need to make sure that the war stops." That was her quote.
What is up, my man, Gordon Meyer? Good to see you. Always a pleasure. You're one of the best. Christine Noseworthy, haven't had a chance to say hello. Christina Paquette, good to see you, always. What a great chat room we've got on the go. We'll figure something out at Cryptomeria. Good to see you always. We'll figure something out.
She went on to tell reporters outside of this place, quote, "I need to make sure that there's no escalation, of course. Israel needs to be able to protect itself, and that's what we will continue to support, its security, and will support, of course, through the Iron Dome." She continued her quote, "At the same time, we need to make sure that parties sit down and the war stops, because we can see what will happen. There will be even further escalation, more further innocent civilians, including women and children, die, and that's what I said at the UN yesterday, and we need the war to stop." End quote. So if we are to understand this, the minister's position...
Life used to be good. How are you doing? I see that you've been in the chat recently a lot. It's great. You're a big contributor here. Dave Jordan, what is up? Julie Mack, what is up, sister?
Position now is that Israel can intercept hundreds of incoming ballistic missiles from Iran, but that's exactly where the defense stops. Israel just needs to accept that these attacks happen and that their technological superiority can continue to provide 100% coverage. Unconcerned with the terror of Hamas and Hezbollah and the mullahs in Iran, and only capable of repeating these talking points, they've received high praise from some in her caucus. They've received confusion from others, embarrassment from some. And they were thanked. This minister was thanked by Hamas, a terrorist organization that this country was once unequivocal about wanting to defeat. We went on to talk again about a ceasefire on the day of a major escalation from Tehran. And as for her calls for the supposed 21-day ceasefire the G7 and some Arab countries were touting last week, it is worthwhile to remember, because nobody has said it in this House, that ceasefire negotiation didn't include any of the belligerent actors involved in this. The ones responsible for the ongoing terror attacks, they themselves were not in the ceasefire talks. So it was a ceasefire proposal that didn't involve anyone who was actually fighting. This is the minister who at the UN managed to offend even our most ardent allies in Canada with her inconsistent hum of moral equivalency, her incomprehensible message, and the very fact that Canada at the highest levels speaks from both sides of its mouth. It is the same minister who, alongside the Minister for Mental Health and the member from York Centre, was proudly photographed caressing the hand of a prolific terrorist and a Holocaust denier in the 19th year of his 4-year mandate, who set up a martyr fund to reward those who killed Jews. The member from York Centre demanded an apology from members of this House, and I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, she will never get an apology from any member of this House on this side for pointing to her dangerous, sanctimonious hypocrisy as she poses for pictures with terrorists instead of denouncing terror. I think her constituents actually deserve the apology, and I am almost certain that there is no apology that will ever convince anyone from her riding to make her a member of Parliament again. Yes. The Prime Minister came to Jewish communities after October 7th. We are almost a year from that date. He and members of the Liberal Party stood tall and promised full support. He gave them their word. But what have we seen since? We've seen protests targeting innocent people in Jewish neighborhoods, Jewish businesses, Jewish places of worship. They're not protesting Israel. They're not protesting the government of Israel. They're not even protesting MP offices. They are intimidating Jews, complete with anti-Semitic slogans, with flags, with chants, with banners in neighborhoods, in front of synagogues, in front of a senior's home right here in the nation's capital just last week, with silence from the MP. We've seen new lows in cancel culture as Israeli authors and artists themselves are deplatformed, as universities call for ideological purity to promote Hamas talking points, as IDF veterans are shamed, and as the leader of one of Ontario's largest unions gets to keep his job while celebrating, quote, resistance in the Middle East. We all know what that means.
Good day, Mark Maloney. Good to have you. Welcome back. Good to see you, though.
His watermelon army of radicals enjoys impunity of the worst
Charlene Hopper, my girl, what is going on? Always a pleasure.
Anti-Semitism that I have seen in my lifetime in any labor movement. And we have seen unprecedented acts of physical violence too, at synagogues, at schools in Toronto, synagogues and schools in Montreal, cities from coast to coast like Vancouver to Fredericton. It goes beyond graffiti that we have all unfortunately gotten used to. It turned into firebombs. It turned into bricks through buildings. It turned into actual gunshots from actual guns. But where is the Prime Minister gone? As the headlines pile up, one after another, as stories get more and more outrageous, nothing except silence, and maybe, if we're lucky, the weakest of platitudes trying to say something and nothing at all. All while anti-Semitic hate crimes doubled in less than a year. It's 2024, they are up by 250%. All while the Jewish community suffered 70% of all religious-based hate crimes, despite making up less than 2% of the population. The Prime Minister is nowhere to be found. His Foreign Minister can't muster a coherent thought. His ministers are terrified of even giving the most basic condemnation. That's on him. He and his government lack the courage to speak out unequivocally and denounce what is happening right now, and the lack of courage to take new measures to protect our country by truly banning the IRGC agents whom are still here, Samidoun, and even properly vetting those who have been caught.
What is up, Jonathan Van Hulst? Good to see you back. How are you doing, man?
Right before they committed a terrorist attack, either right here in our country's biggest city or south of the border in New York. The government awarded a citizenship to someone that they arrested on terror charges. They lack the courage to do just the bare minimum, and enforcing the laws in our criminal code. All while they deny security funding to the most vulnerable synagogues or community centers with excuses of red tape or frankly incompetence. We've known for a long time that the Prime Minister's and his MP lack any conviction at all. But never has this lack of conviction been more costly and put more people at risk than right now. He's playing politics because he's out of gas on everything else. He's playing politics with the gravest threat in the Middle East, East's security in a generation. And he's playing politics with the biggest challenge to Canadian religious freedoms since the Holocaust. And let me tell you how he does it. He sends one group of MPs to say one thing to one community, and he sends another group of MPs to say another thing to the other community. He gets members like the one from Mount Royal and Eglinton Lawrence to put out strongly worded tweets to say all of the right things to try and cover up the failures at the top while being shoved in the back corner of Parliament. Meanwhile, members like the one from Scarborough Centre call for a, quote, unequivocal embargo and actively parrot anti-Israel talking points. Two different MPs, two different messages to two different communities. He sends ministers to denounce UNRWA and announce that they stopped Canadian funding. But then they quietly resume funding just months later with millions of tax dollars. They can't even take a stand to condemn the immunity for UNRWA employees that participated in literal terrorism. And let's not forget their impeccable timing to reaffirm their unwavering support for UNRWA, just as UNRWA publicly admitted that Fatih al-Sharif, Hamas leader in Lebanon, was also running an UNRWA school and heading their school union. He was just buried in Hamas regalia, in case anyone missed it. And at what point does the Liberal government move UNRWA from the willful ignorance column to the willing co-conspirator column and stop sending Canadian tax dollars that is funding terror? They are doing so because they lack the courage. Like I said, they lack the conviction to do what's right instead of do what's popular. They lack the fortitude to stand with our allies through fire and through water instead of just freeloading as usual. And they lack the moral clarity to stand with the Jewish community.
Okay, I think we get the point there. It's an issue, especially for Melissa Lantsman, who I think is a great politician. Again, I am sided by now. I've watched a lot of this stuff. I do have some favorites until the next election and see how things change after that. But we do have more to watch here, so we're going to get back into that.
Benefit of Canadians following this scandal. Let's recap what's happening here. Diane Daly, a low-level, faithful public servant for almost 20 years with no administrative or discipline record, gets investigated, gets suspended because she does not pinpoint Utano and McDonald as being responsible for this $60 million boondoggle. And surprise, surprise, within weeks of her suspension, you get asked to take on more responsibility. Now, you say there's no extra pay with that, but it's a higher profile. And I'm sure you've been bonused. Have you been bonused, ma'am?
Thank you very much for the question. No. And in fact, I have fewer employees in my new role.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Schonenberg, you were responsible for signing off on an ATIP. ATIP A-2003-0043.
What's up, Peter Henry? Good to see you. Hello back from Nova Scotia to Central BC.
3-1, requested by Cameron McDonald.
Sorry, there is Sheila, my girl. What is up? Can't take a chance and let an opportunity to go by to say hello to you. We're watching some Larry Brock now. Then we've got a funny bit we're going to watch right after this.
Donald for emails sent and received from Diane Daly, Miss Boldock, and yourself regarding keywords, CBSA, investigation, interviews, any and all participation between December the 11th, 23 to the present date, February 16, 24. You then, on the 19th of February, 24, provide an interesting commentary in your response from the PSPC. The matter to which this relates, the investigation, could result in future litigation. So Mr. McDonald, through the legal channels of going through an ATIP, does not receive the information you request because you're protecting it. So I'm asking, why is the PSPC hiding documents that are legitimately being asked for, and who gave you that direction at PSPC?
No one gave that direction. The recommendation form is exactly that, a recommendation form. It's common to indicate that there could be potential litigation associated with a file when providing documents. It is the ATIP office within PSPC that makes the determination of what should be released or what should not.
I call that obstruction of justice and deliberately withholding key relevant information. Now, for the benefit of Canadians, let's recap.
Like to take the chance now to say hello to Lily was the #1 dog. Good to see you. My heart is with you today. I'm thinking about a friend that's got a dog that's not in great shape. Pat Allen, shout back to you from Nova Scotia back to Alberta. Good to see you, man.
What has happened through this entire scandal. I know you're shaking your head because you don't agree with it, Miss Bulldog, but this is exactly what happens. We have ministers denying any and all responsibility. We got a corrupt prime minister denying any and all responsibility for this boondoggle of $60 million.
Point of order, Mr.
We've got deputy ministers.
Point of order.
Yes,
I know our honorable colleague was a former prosecutor. He knows using language like corruption is a criminal offense. There's been no criminal investigation to the Prime Minister. I would ask him to retract those comments. And if he wants to get into an investigation,
Mr. Drouet,
we have two witnesses and get on with questions.
Gentlemen, cease. So, Mr. Drouet, I do try to maintain decorum. I do also try to give members latitude. And when I hear words in this committee that are permitted in the chamber, I do let them go as kind of the reference point. So, Mr. Brock, you have, and that is by the chamber. I mean the House of Commons. Mr. Brock, you have the floor again.
We have presidents, we have deputy ministers who have deliberately lied and obstructed our ability to get to the truth. And then we have two individuals who called out the lies. Mr. McDonald, Mr. Utano, immediately suspended without pay. Now that's been resolved, the pay issue. They're still suspended because of the use of counsel. And then we have Diane Daly, again.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt Brock because he's the star, right? Like, he's one of the favorites on this channel. He's probably my favorite politician just to watch. Hey, Backyard Garden, what is up? Peter Henry, said hello. Autumn Christian, what is up? But now we've got a funny piece that we're going to watch. And again, if you've seen this from Rebel News already, I like to promote these guys because they're doing something special. But this is a pretty funny piece from my man, Ezra Levant. Check out Rebel News, guys. Subscribe to their channel. They've got amazing stuff. Consider a membership to their channel.
For $1, can you tell me who this is? I'll give you a hint. He's a politician. I don't know who it is. Who's this guy for $1? Who's this?
I don't know.
Fair enough. I'll give you a hint. Tell me who this is and I'll give you $1.
That's a politician.
You bet. Does he look familiar?
It looks like an
I think you're right. I think you're right. Who is this guy, first of all?
An awful, sad excuse for a leader for Canada.
That's what he looks like when he's dressed up.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Tie-dye,
no,
sorry.
That's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada.
Hey, guys.
That's Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that?
That's not good.
Hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here from Rebel News. I'm in Times Square, New York City. I'm here because Justin Trudeau is in town. He went to the United Nations to give a speech, but hundreds of seats were empty. I think there were only about a dozen people there. Take a look. Then he went on the Colbert Show, and it was a snooze fest. It just wasn't funny at all. And so I thought I would ask actual people in New York City, New Yorkers, Americans from other places, and even foreigners who will talk to me, do you know who Justin Trudeau even is? I'm going to show them this picture and say, if you can tell me who this is, I'll give you $1. And if they really need a hint, I'll show them this and I'll see if that jogs their memory. So what do New Yorkers say when I say name this man? Let's find out. Tell me who this is and I'll give you $1.
That's a politician.
You bet. Does he look familiar?
It looks like an
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Oh yeah, that is William Tate Smith.
You don't know who this is?
Macron?
No, good guess though. Do you know who it is?
Trudeau.
Good for you, yeah. Do you know who that is?
I have no idea.
It's Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, good for you.
Okay.
This is, here's the hand. Here's your $1. I'll give you $1 if you can tell me who this is. Do you know who it is? For $1? Who is this?
I don't understand.
Okay. Okay. $1. Who is this? $1. For $1?
Hablo inglés.
No, no inglés?
Español.
Hi guys, I'll give you $1 if you can tell me who this is.
I don't get a clue. Trudeau.
You do? Hey, here's your $1. You got it right. You don't know who that is? No. Do you know who that is? Who is this guy, first of all?
An awful, sad excuse for a leader for Canada.
Do you know who he is?
Prime Minister of Canada.
Come and get your $1.
Oh, Trudeau. I have no idea.
For $1, who's this?
Hombre, this is the president of Canada.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
It's a French last name. Justin Trudeau.
Good for you. There's your $1. Do you know who that is? No? All right. How do you know who he is?
He's our prime minister.
Oh, you're from Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, well, are you just tourists down here? That's how you know him.
Yes, yes.
I'm offering people $1 if they can identify who this person is. You don't know who that is? Who's this? Here's your $1. For $1, who's this guy? $1. Do you know who this is for $1?
The president of Canada.
What's his name?
Trudeau.
Here's your $1. If you can tell me who this is, I'll give you $1.
I don't know. Sorry.
Justin Trudeau.
For $1, who's this? No? For $1, who's this? How do you know?
I'm Canadian.
Here you go. $1, tell me who this is.
Oh, I can't tell you, mate. Sorry.
For $1, can you tell me who this is? I'll give you a hint. He's a politician.
I don't know who it is.
Who's this guy for $1? Who's this?
I don't know.
Fair enough. I'll give you a hint. You've got good intuition.
Yeah, I can tell he's an a-hole.
I'll give you a hint. This is what he looks like when he's dressed up. Here's what he looks like when he's going out. Does that ring a bell at all?
I forgot his name.
Do you ever hear about Trudeau or follow him at all?
Seems to do a good job.
Do you know anything about Trudeau?
Nice looking fella.
Oh, there you go. Here he is in blackface. What do you think of that?
Oh, I remember he did that, yes.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
A bit daft.
I'm not a great fan of his policies. What's that? What has he done that you disagree with?
It's hysterical, guys. Like, also, I don't mean to use Rebel News. Like, I'm not trying to piggyback on them. I'm trying to promote them. Watch them, subscribe to their channel, become a member, pay for their stuff. They do important work. That's my opinion. Welcome to the Cat in the Hat. How are you doing? Anybody that I missed, did I catch you earlier? Gus Papas, welcome back. Anyways, back to this. We'll get into question period in about 10 or 15 minutes, but we'll watch some more interesting videos.
So, I'm a lawyer. Okay. So I know we overreached that happened with the truckers. At least in the West, we're getting overregulated.
Does that ring a bell now? That's Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. What do you think of that?
Oh, wow. Wow.
We just had a need for rules. But I think that's a tool that the left uses to sort of enforce compliance with classes whilst it's champagne socialism themselves.
He dresses up like that. What do you think of that?
Hombre, probably because he's the Three Kings.
Ooh.
He's dressed for that.
Oh my God.
He did a pretty good job. I mean,
of what? Good job of what?
Yeah,
well, he's the Prime Minister from last 10 years.
Yeah, so that's one thing.
So he must be good because he's in office. Surely he's done something good.
He's done something recently, has done some dental free for all.
Are you worried about civil liberties back home in the UK? Broadly, yes. I think it has to be really looked at, really, really carefully looked at. One of the everybody's equal rules on a given position in a family or school. If that doesn't happen, then I'm quite fair for the society.
I don't know.
Does that help?
No, it doesn't.
The kanadische president is right.
Also, nee, ich komme
Was that Castro was his last name?
Same guy, he's wearing blackface here. Did that ring a bell?
Oh yeah, that's the guy that making fun of black people in Israelites. I remember him. I remember this guy.
Are you a fan or not really? A critic?
Hey Tracy, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. Just Drizzle Jizzle, what a funny handle. Good to have you back into the show. Again, this is Mr. Pickles, guys. Mr. Pickles insisted that I show this. So we're showing it.
Can't say something nice, don't say it at all.
Good for you. You're very polite. That's a very Canadian thing to do.
Very Canadian.
Yeah, he's not even an American. Don't worry about it.
Oh, all right. God bless you, man.
Thanks, nice to meet you. Cheers.
I'm sorry I lost the doctor.
Don't want to hear. I'll go check with you.
Thank you, man. God is good, man.
Cheers, right on.
That's what he looks like when he's dressed up.
Oh, dear. There you go.
Tie-dye,
No?
sorry.
That's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, cheers, guys.
Rebel News, I am a fan. Are you serious? I am a fan. Oh, what are the odds? Bumping into you here. That's great.
Are you Canadian or American?
American. But I've heard him speak. It's awful.
And why are you so passionate about this?
Because he doesn't give a shit about his own country. It's sad.
He's in New York today. What do you think of that?
There's awful people in New York every day.
I think independent outfits like yourself have a very unique and some would say constitutional or even sacred rights to exist. We need other voices.
If you had to describe him in one word, do you have an adjective? Handsome. Wow. That's Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of that?
That's not good.
Well, there you have it. The vast majority of people have no clue who Justin Trudeau is. When I showed the blackface, that did ring a bell for some people. I'd say it was sort of lukewarm reception. Some foreigners thought he looked dreamy. But I encountered some Canadians down here in New York who don't have a lot of time for Trudeau, and a very passionate man from the Caribbean and now the UK who has a lot to say about Trudeau's violation of civil liberties. It was a really fun day. To learn more about our trip to New York and the other things we've done, go to rebelfieldreports.com.
Oh, we're not showing that again. So what we're going to do now is this. This is one last piece before we cross over to question period. This is Mike Barrett investigating in committee. The committee stuff is always interesting to watch. Let's take a look.
A situation that's unfolded over the last week. On September the 22nd, CTV News aired a segment about a confidence vote that was going to come before the House. And in that segment, CTV deliberately misrepresented the comments of the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition. Now, this is incredibly serious. So we're talking about CTV News. They're owned by a media giant in this country. They're owned by Bell. And what happened is shocking. So CTV News spliced together different parts of the leader of the opposition's comments to create a false impression. Well, first of all, created a false statement, something that he never said. But the intention was to create a narrative that the opposition day motion was not about having a carbon tax election, which was what it was about, but was instead that it was to oppose the Liberals' dental care program as opposed to it being about the carbon tax. And this isn't a situation where we have an error.
All right, gang, I don't mean to cut that off. I don't mean to be jumping around all over the place, but we do have the House Commons is ready to go. We're going to show that. If we can get it lined up. And They're singing "O Canada" right now. It's how they start off Parliament. So I'm kind of down with that. Right into that, guys. We're going into question period.
If I can ask members, please, to take their seats quietly. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member from Nepean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the third year, Area X.O, which is part of Invest Ottawa, and the Government of Canada hosted GC Expo, the epic smart mobility demonstration day in my Nepean riding. GC Expo brought together more than 70 Canadian companies to host live technology demonstration at Area X.O. GC Expo created an exclusive opportunity for invited guests to experience the power and impact of cutting-edge Canadian technologies, including many preparing for global markets. 1,500 plus participants from industry, academia, government and investment community throughout the day got to experience live tech demos from 78 innovators and companies from Canada's capital and across the country, from cargo air vehicles to drones, robots, low-speed automated shuttles, Internet of Things, smart city solutions, and more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, Richard Blair Morrow, beloved husband of Sandy and devoted father to Tanya and Alana, passed away at the age of 84. He was elected to Halton Regional and Town of Halton Hills Council in 1974, the year they were formed. In fact, it was Rick's suggestion of the name Halton Hills, the name the municipality still has today, that won in a resident vote for the newly merged municipality. Rick made many other contributions beyond elected office. He graduated from RMC in 1962. He joined Air Canada as a pilot in 1965 and became captain in 1973. He was instrumental in expanding GO service to Georgetown and was appointed Commissioner of Halton Regional Police in 1981. We are grateful for Rick Morrow's lifetime of service and wish to pass along to Sandra, Tanya, and Alana our deepest sympathies.
The
Honourable Member for Vimy. Mr. Speaker, Cyprus celebrated its 64th anniversary of independence, and this reminds me of my first visit in July, which coincided with the 50th anniversary of the Turkish invasion. This tragic event killed thousands, destroyed infrastructure, and forced Greek and Turkish Cypriots alike to leave the island.
Democratic nation with a thriving economy as part of the European Union, welcoming both Greek and Turkish Cypriots. I visited the UN buffer zone and met 2 Canadian peacekeepers by the monument honoring the 28 Canadians who lost their lives in Cyprus. The Canadian flag we brought with us is now flying proudly next to the monument. Canada and Cyprus established strong diplomatic relations 64 years ago and continue to focus on peace and stability.
Canada continues to support the efforts of both communities to prove an acceptable path to reunification for an inclusive future, making Cyprus a beacon of hope and prosperity in the region. I would like to remind all members that it is important to respect the 60-second limit for your statement. The Honourable Member for La Pointe-de-l'Île. Mr. Speaker, it's with immense pride that I am underscoring the 350th anniversary of Pointe-aux-Trembles, which stands out because of the richness of its history, its heritage sites, and its larger-than-life people who were born there. For example, authors Robert Chevalier, Claire Vaujas, and Serge Bouchard, athletes such as Rodrigue Gilbert and the Dufour-Lapointe sisters, artists Marie-Claire and Charles Séguin, ou Christian Bégin, and the Léger family in politics. And there was also Mark Campbell, who at only 16 participated in the Patriot movement in 1837-38. La Pointe-de-l'Île residents have always faced adversity. For example, when the British Army landed in 1760 in the current Clémentine de la Rousselière Park, or when a fire destroyed half the city in 1912. La Pointe-de-l'Île residents, I wish all of us a happy 350th anniversary.
L'honorable député d'Alfred.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Pellan. Mr. Speaker, last Saturday, I attended the gala of the 75th anniversary of the Canadian-Italian Business and Professional Association. This extraordinary milestone bears witness to the commitment and success of this association, which was founded to help business people and professionals. Over the decades, the CIBPA has become a beacon in the business community, offering a forum where ideas and perspectives can meet.
This CIBA's continued efforts in advancing the business, cultural, and social interests of its members going beyond traditional networking. In its 75 years, CIBA has provided valuable services and activities that enhance professional growth and interpersonal connections, fostering a network of motivated leaders. It has supported both individual and corporate growth, building a community that values teamwork, integrity, and innovation. Congratulations to the chair, Mr. Rick Sassano, and cheers to many more years of excellence.
The honourable member from Chilliwack Hope.
100 years ago, an outpost of the Salvation Army was established in Chilliwack. Its mission, to share the love of Jesus Christ, meet human needs, and be a transforming influence in the community. Today, the Salvation Army's Care and Share Centre operates a multitude of social service programs, including a food bank, homeless shelter, soup kitchen, thrift store, and homeless outreach program. To celebrate their 100th anniversary, the Salvation Army has launched a March to a Million fundraising campaign, which will help purchase food to keep up with soaring demand, upgrade aging facilities, and provide even more support to those needing help in our community. Many people in Chilliwack are hurting, with a growing population of hungry and homeless. Food bank usage has increased by over 40% in the last year alone. The needs in our community have never been greater. The Salvation Army has been there for Chilliwack for the last 100 years. I'm asking all who are able to support them now so that they can continue to provide their life-giving work in our community.
The Honourable Member for Pontiac.
I rise today in this House to express my gratitude to the former chief of the Kirigan Zibi community. He stood by his community during different...
Good day, Mary Perrin. How are you doing? Marie Perrin, good to see you. Drizzle Jizzle, haha.
Like me, Dylan White Duck is a fan of Lord of the Ring, and he made me smile one day when he said that he wants his community to be like the Shire, one of the most beautiful places in the Middle Earth. Et j'en profite également pour...
And I would also like to warmly congratulate the new chief of Kirigan-Zibi, Charlie White Duck, who was a friend of Dylan and who...
Good afternoon, James Sherwood. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Zippy. He will make it one of the most beautiful places in the Outaouais region. Thank you.
The honourable member from Vancouver, Granville.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Hellenic community in Vancouver, Granville. With a proud history that spans over a century in Vancouver, Granville, this community has profoundly enriched our country and Vancouver's cultural landscape. I was especially honored to have received this past weekend their highest award of honorary lifetime membership. This recognition also reflects the collective commitment of Vancouver Granville's Hellenic community to unity, compassion, and resilience, traits that make us proud as Vancouverites and as Canadians. Mr. Speaker, the Hellenic community of Vancouver's commitment to philanthropy and community service, of providing a space for so many diverse groups to gather, is a testament to the great things we can all do when we come together. Their commitment to community reminds us of the importance of helping those in need and ensuring no one is left behind. As we seek to build a more inclusive Canada, Mr. Speaker, let us celebrate and learn from Vancouver Granville's Hellenic community. Thank you.
The honourable member from Charleswood St. James, Assiniboia Headingley.
Tonight at sunset marks the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Rosh Hashanah is one of the most important holidays in the Jewish calendar. This holiday allows family and friends to come together to appreciate the struggles and triumphs of the previous year, as well as to reset and refocus on the year ahead. It's a time of hope and encouragement that has inspired Jewish people for millennia, comforting them even in times of unimaginable hardship. Rosh Hashanah is particularly important this year as the Jewish community faces so much uncertainty and hatred. In the 10 days leading up to Yom Kippur, I hope that not only the Jewish community, but all of Canada commits to fighting hatred and anti-Semitism. To everyone celebrating Rosh Hashanah, Shana Tova Umetuka. To you and your family, Canada's Conservatives wish you a peaceful and prosperous New Year.
Good to see you, Bonnie Peters. Always a pleasure. My man, LJ, what's up, brother?
River Black Creek.
Mr. Speaker, today I wish to honor an extraordinary advocate and environmental champion in the Humber River Black Creek community by the name of Edith George. For over 20 years, Edith has been a relentless hero for the historical recognition of a red oak tree, a magnificent 300-year-old landmark located in the immediate vicinity of the Toronto Carrying Place Trail. Her unwavering dedication not only underscores the importance of preserving our natural heritage, but also deepens our connection to our shared history. Edith actively participates in various boards, always striving to uplift and engage our community. Her passion and leadership inspire those around her, demonstrating the profound impact one individual can have in making our world a better place. Thank you, Edith, for our steadfast advocacy and for being a beacon of hope for both the Humber River Black Creek and the broader community. Your efforts truly make a difference. Thank you, Ms. George.
L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member from Montmagny-les-Lacs-Kamouraska-Rivière-du-Loup. Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this Liberal government, their record is disastrous. Cost of living is up, taxes are up, crime is up, and Canadians are increasingly frustrated. Quebecers are clear they're sick of this Liberal government, which does nothing but waste their money and encroach on areas of provincial jurisdiction. The Bloc Québécois can no longer justify propping up this Liberal Prime Minister. Yesterday, once again, the Bloc had the opportunity to vote for the interests of Quebecers by supporting our non-confidence motion. But once again, the Bloc preferred to turn its back on Quebecers, prop up the government, which has been making their lives miserable for over 9 years, and they got nothing in exchange, not even the revocation of the Liberal order that could kill the forest industry in Quebec. Why? Simply because the Bloc does nothing for Quebecers. It thinks only of propping up this Liberal Prime Minister. That's a very strange type of sovereigntist party, Mr. Speaker.
À l'ordre, s'il vous plaît.
Order.
Member from Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, taxes are up, costs up, crime's up, time's up. Canadians are fed up with this government's economic vandalism. Since 2019, Canada's GDP is down 2% per capita, whereas in the US, it's up by 8%. Trevor Tombe, economist, wrote that if Canada had simply kept pace with the US over the past 2 years, our economy would be 8.5% larger. That means every Canadian would be $6,000 richer. Mr. Speaker, enough is enough. A common-sense Conservative government will reverse this economic vandalism, bring home powerful paychecks, cut taxes, red tape, and deliver powerful paychecks for Canadians. A common-sense Conservative will fix what Liberals broke and restore the promise that is Canada.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel.
Next week, from October 7th to 11th, Malnutrition Awareness Week will be taking place. Malnutrition is a serious challenge which has deep and long-lasting developmental, economic, social, and medical impacts on individuals and communities. From undernourishment to poor diet, millions of children across the world suffer serious consequences each year.
In Canada, our government was quick to take decisive action in order to address this problem through our national school food program, which allows thousands of children to go to school with a full tummy and to achieve their full potential. My bill, C-252, is also an important step towards a future where all our children will be able to receive high-quality food to protect their health and their future.
There is still more work to be done, Mr. Chairman, and therefore let's continue to improve and promote healthy dieting.
The honourable member from London Fanshawe.
Today I join with Londoners to celebrate the 20th anniversary of My Sister's Place, which provides a safe and inclusive centre that supports women and those who identify as women. They help vulnerable people who may experience gender-based violence, trauma, chronic mental and physical health challenges, homelessness or housing instability, substance use and extreme poverty. Through drop-in and wraparound services in partnership with CMHA Thames Valley Addiction and Mental Health Services and many other organizations throughout London, My Sister's Place creates a welcoming, non-judgmental culture, what they call a reprieve from the stigma women so often feel when they need support. I cannot thank the incredible workers, volunteers, and supporters of My Sister's Place enough. For the past 20 years, you have been the heart of our community. You welcome women in with such warmth and open arms. You provide a sympathetic ear, a shoulder to cry on, supports to get people into safety, into shelter, into programs. You show such kindness and generosity of spirit. Thank you and congratulations.
The Honourable Member for La Salle-Verdun. I'd like to take this advantage with this maiden statement to thank the voters of La Salle-Verdun for the trust they placed in me on September 16th. I made one single promise, and that's to do everything to show that I am worthy of this trust. Thank you to my leader, the member for Belleuil-Chambly, for his unwavering support throughout the campaign, and thank you to Mr. Duceppe and Mr. Saint-Pierre Plamondon for their speeches during our assembly. I'd like to thank wholeheartedly all the volunteers who believed in the Bloc Québécois, and a special thanks to my campaign director, Stephen Zerou, and to the members of the Electoral Committee for this victory. Thanks to you all, the Southwest has won a member who will work on the ground to serve citizens. Thanks to you, I will work tirelessly on priorities in our area such as housing, homelessness, the cost of living, and climate change. And I will continue to promote our main source of power, independence in Quebec. Thank you.
The honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
This week, Parliament has ground to a halt with Liberal corruption. No government bills are being debated. The Liberal Prime Minister, who said his government would be opened by default, is now causing the House to deal with his own Liberal government withholding documents.
Why is question period 8 minutes late? Like, there's one guy responsible for running the House. That's this jackass Greg Fergus, and it's 8 minutes late. Why would they be 8 minutes? There was no committee meetings going on this morning. There was no, but he's late by 8 minutes, and
from the RCMP that they've been legally ordered to produce. Why would the Liberals do that? Well, it's a case of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars stolen in countless conflicts of interest by Liberals appointed by that Liberal Prime Minister. Common sense Conservatives won't stop until the Liberals turn over all of the documents to the RCMP. And then we have the Liberal Minister from Edmonton's business partner in breach of a House order for refusing to turn over key documents and provide answers on the infamous other Randy. Evidence ordered by a House committee proved the falsehood from the Liberal Minister from Edmonton that he wasn't communicating with his business partner, and we know that that is against the law. Canadians don't have confidence in this Prime Minister, twice found guilty of breaking ethics laws himself. It's time to call a carbon tax elections so Canadians can fire these corrupt Liberals and Conservatives can restore accountability.
The honourable member from Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, cha-cha-cha, ole, ole, ole. October is Latin American Heritage Month, and it's so exciting to know that we have a whole month to celebrate the unbelievable music, literature, food, talent, creativity, and culture of over 20 diverse and beautiful Latin American and Hispanic cultures in Canada. It's also a month to acknowledge the many contributions of Latin American and Hispanic Canadians to our country. They are leaders in virtually every sector of our nation. This large and growing community enriches our national fabric with its contributions, and it plays an important role in Canada's growth and prosperity. Gracias to all the members of the Hispanic and Latin American Canadian community. You're an inspiration not only within the community, but to all Canadians. This evening, I'm inviting everyone to join the Latin American and Hispanic community to celebrate this amazing month at John A. McDonald's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come out for tacos, empanadas, vino, mojitos, música alegre, and so much more. Viva los Latinos in Canada! Viva!
I'm certain all members would like to get back on their feet, as I have the honor to inform the House that the Clerk of the House has received from the Chief Electoral Officer a certificate of the election and return of Ms. Dance, member for the Electoral District of Elmwood, Transcona.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to present Ms. Leila Dance, the member for the Electoral District of Elmwood, Transcona. She has taken the oath, signed the roll, and now claims the right to take her seat.
Member, take her seat.
Order.
What is up, Don Bank Coins? Good to see you, Wayne Casby. We're just about ready to launch into question period. Just want to catch a few people. Jeff Belbin, I don't think I caught you earlier. In case I missed you, Mike Tremblay. There's a lot of mics in the room. Magic 12, how you doing? Stinger 007, what's going on, brother? Anyways, we're into question period right now. Terry Hooper, good afternoon, sir. Were you late? I don't know. Someone was late. I think it was Greg Fergus. Let's not delay him any further. Let's take a look at question period. Should be a wild one.
I must give some thought to whether or not these gestures are better than speaking out of turn. Oral questions. Questions orales.
The Leader of the Opposition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For 9 years, this Bloc-backed Liberal government has managed to triple the cost of housing in Montreal. There's been the latest report by Point 2 Homes. They say it takes 14 years for a young Montrealer to save up enough to buy a house with a small down payment. When will the government trigger an election so that Canadians can elect a government which will build housing, cut red tape, and allow home building? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, thank you. What the Conservative leader does not seem to understand is that slogans don't build homes. Slogans don't meet Canadians' needs. What does help is hard work, real solutions. Working with municipalities instead of insulting the mayor of Montreal. Working with municipalities, with provinces, with not-for-profits. We need to work with all of these partners to build housing units and to meet these challenges. We're here to do some serious work. He's here to shout slogans. He doesn't have a single solution to offer us. And Canadians deserve better, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Solutions. I had solutions when I was Minister of Housing. When I was Minister, we built 200,000 units in Montreal when rent was a third of what it is today. This Bloc-backed Liberal government's inflationary spending has not helped. They've broken the immigration system. They have ballooned big bureaucracy which block building and construction. With all of that, the Prime Minister has succeeded in tripling housing costs, rent costs in Montreal. Can he trigger an election so that Canadians can elect a government that will cut red tape and build homes and cut taxes too? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker.
So to interrupt, guys, Wayne Caspi, man, thank you for the 20 bones. That's huge. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition does not want to cut taxes because, in fact, he voted against our bill to cut GST for purpose-built rentals for lower-priced units. We're here to build housing units. If any housing was built during his time as a housing minister, it was despite his efforts, or lack thereof, because he built a grand total of 6 affordable units when he was housing minister under Mr. Harper. We're here to deliver affordable housing, to deliver a good life for Canadians, and to build a better future for all. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Well, the taxes for capital gains were increased. That's bloc-backed. If you consider the removing...
Let's get into some English stuff, guys.
...was eaten up by municipalities increasing taxes.
Come on, Poilievre. That was his choice. Like, he could have asked this question in English. Here we go.
And unjustifiable costs on New Brunswick schools and hospitals that Canadians cannot afford. Will the Prime Minister call a carbon tax election so we can save our schools and hospitals on this tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président, le chef de l'opposition a
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition started by talking about his opposition to new taxes on capital gains because, once again, the Conservatives are here to defend the ultra-wealthy and cut services for everyone else.
And talked again about his opposition to our bringing in an increase on capital gains because we know that asking the wealthy to do a little more so we can deliver more homes for young Canadians to build that future is what we need to do. But the Conservatives continue to be there with cuts for taxes for the wealthiest, cuts of services for everyone else.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister is hiking taxes on home builders, on doctors, on job creators, and on farmers. And he's also raising taxes on hospitals and schools. The New Brunswick Premier is taking this Prime Minister to court because of the unconstitutional quadrupling carbon tax and the costs it will impose on snowplows, ambulances, heating hospitals and schools, meaning the loss of countless police officers, nurses, doctors, and teachers. Instead of defeating the carbon tax in court, why can't we have a carbon tax election so Canadians can axe the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, for the past number of years, multiple Conservative premiers have gone after the price on pollution in courts, and they lost at the Supreme Court. The Canadians have decided that price on pollution is the right thing. We've won multiple elections on that because Canadians know that the only way to build a strong economy is to fight climate change at the same time. The Leader of the Opposition doesn't get that, doesn't accept that, doesn't understand that abandoning the fight against climate change would hurt Canadians, would hurt our institutions, would hurt people and economic growth right across the country.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, and he concealed from both the courts and from Canadians his plan to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. Now, Premier Scott Moe of Saskatchewan says that this will hit schools with $204 million in carbon taxes and hospitals with $175 million in carbon taxes, meaning we will lose doctors, teachers, and other necessary workers serving Canadians. Instead of forcing premiers to fight to axe the tax in court, why can't we have a carbon tax election so Canadians can axe the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader is proposing that we abandon all the fight against climate change. He wants to take away the Canada carbon rebate that puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians, the middle class and people working hard to join it, even as we both fight climate change, reduce emissions in this country, and create growth and opportunities in cleaner jobs and cleaner careers. These are the issues that Canadians are preoccupied with. How are they going to be able to afford jobs into the future when this leader wants to take away the fight against climate change?
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, we have heard some shocking and unacceptable words in this House yesterday. The Minister of Labour and Seniors basically said that associations representing all Quebec retirees are either...
So sorry to turn down the volume on the Bloc Québécois, but I'd prefer now, and this is something I'm going to try to do, is use this first segment of the Bloc chatting to say hello to the people in the room. Autumn Christensen, what is up? If I get any of these names wrong, I'm losing my vision. It's bright in front of me. Brenda Walworth, how are you doing? Christina Paquette, good to see you. Christine Noseworthy, what is up? Danielle Sweeney, nothing wrong with getting up late as long as you make it. Dimebag Coins, always a pleasure. How is the move going? Drizzle Gissel, what is up? Gordon Meyer, my man, one of my favorites. Gus Papas, great to see you. Huge ass, welcome back. James Meacher, good to see you. James Sherwood, always a pleasure. Janet Nunn, the same, always one of my favorites to see. Jeff Belbin, Jeff Vanderkoy, how are you doing? Vanderkoy, Joe Sofat, how are you doing? Julie Mack, Jordan, Kenzie Kraken, my lady, what is going on? Kirk, Captain, what's up? Beam me up. Mark Maloney, Marie Perrin, how are you doing? Michael Thomas, Mike Duncan, Michael Tremblay, what's up, brother? How are you doing today? Mama T, always a pleasure to have you back. Mr. Pickles, brother, what will we do without you? Raz, you're a funny guy. Love having you here. Rock Girl, good to see you. Rick Gauthier, good to see you too. Rory Kennedy, maybe we'll chat this afternoon. We'll see. Rayman, Scott Campbell, great to have you back. Rayman, what is going on? Sheila Hall, my girl, what is up? Hope your puppy's doing okay. Steve Bloy, one of the funniest people in this chat room. Stinger 007, Sylvain Robert, and Terry Hooper, the cat in the hat. What is going on? Terry Hooper, I always miss you. I think that gets us through the names and for the most part gets us through over a big hump listening to the Bloc talk about things that matter to only one province, not to Canadians. That's how I feel about the Bloc.
Seniors.
Honourable member from Burnaby South.
New Democrats believe in lower rents, not higher. When the Conservatives were in power, they let big, greedy corporations buy up affordable homes and convert them into luxury cash cows. They allowed that to happen over 800,000 times. I will ban it. But the Prime Minister allowed it to happen over 370,000 times. Every single time that happens, that means a family gets evicted. That means rents go up. Why?
Hear, hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past number of years, we have...
I always forget to mention, to like and subscribe. Consider a membership. We do extra videos on here. We're working at that. Like, subscribe. Let's try to see how many people we can get on here today. The likes do help that way. Back to the show.
We've worked hand in hand with municipalities and provinces, nonprofit organizations, not only to build more affordable homes, but to ensure that homes that were built as affordable apartments or homes get to stay affordable long into the future. We've done that with funds put forward to purchase by nonprofit organizations deeper affordable homes, also to move forward on public lands that will be converted to affordable homes and kept affordable for decades and even a century to come. These are the kinds of things that we're going to continue to do and focus on in this House.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Conservative leaders, chief advisors, also the chief lobbyists for corporate landlords. But what's the Prime Minister's excuse? For decades, Liberals and Conservatives have failed to ensure Indigenous communities have safe and affordable places to call home. Now, over 300,000 Indigenous people live in unsuitable housing. For the Prime Minister, it's delay, delay, delay. When will the Prime Minister realize that he is failing Indigenous people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have tripled investments in Indigenous communities since 2015, including $32 billion in investments expected in 2024-25 alone. We're moving forward on investing in and with Indigenous communities to build more homes, to create more economic opportunities, to create the kinds of partnerships that I got to see just a couple of days ago in Inuvik, where the Inuvialuit are moving forward on ambitious plans for the future. This is reconciliation in action, not just pretty words, but actions that are actually delivering for Canadians. There's lots more to do, but we're going to keep delivering for Indigenous.
Yentez Bagels, good to see you.
Liberal government is not worth the cost of food. The food professor estimates that between 2022 and 2025, the cost of food will be up 34%. That's a time that coincides exactly with the NDP Liberal coalition. Coincidentally, the NDP leader's chief spokesman and brother, his company is a lobbyist for Metro. But the food professor blames the increase on carbon taxes. Carbon taxes on farmers and truckers who bring us our food. Before Canadians go hungry, why won't the Prime Minister allow a carbon tax election so Canadians can axe the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, farmers across this country are feeling the impacts of the extreme weather events that come from climate change, whether it's droughts or wildfires or floods. We are seeing the costs of climate change every single day. And we put forward a price on pollution that not only brings down emissions and creates more solutions and economic growth, it also puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians right across the country. It's the Parliamentary Budget Officer who says that. We're going to continue to fight climate change while the leader opposite wants to abandon the fight against climate change.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister loves to blame the rest of the world for the rampant food price inflation here at home. But the food professor proves that narrative false. He has calculated that food prices have risen 36% faster in Canada than in the United States of America. What does Canada have that the Americans don't have? 2 words: carbon tax. So instead of forcing Canadians to line up at food banks, why won't he let them line up to vote in a carbon tax election?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't dare say anything after the last question because I sort of couldn't believe my ears. But here we have the Leader of the Opposition actually quoting some sort of expert, which is a brand new thing for this House of Commons. To rely on facts and data is an excellent thing to hear. Now, perhaps the Leader of the Opposition will listen to the hundreds of economists and scientists who have pointed out that putting a price on pollution, particularly one that puts more money back in the pockets of the middle class and those working hard to join it, is the best way to both fight climate change and grow the economy. But the leader opposite, he just wants to play
Colleagues, I ask all members, including the member from Peterborough, Haliburton, Brock, to please only take the microphone, take the floor when he's recognized by the Speaker. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Craig Fergus sucks. No doubt about it, just blows.
And I've got some more expert information for the Prime Minister from the food professor Sylvain Charlebois, who finds that 13% of Americans live in food insecurity, while here in Canada it's 23%. In other words, Canadians are twice as likely to live in food security after food price of inflation has been 1/3 higher under this Prime Minister's carbon tax regime. Again, instead of blaming others or forcing Canadians to go hungry, why not a carbon tax election so that Canadians can axe the tax and afford their food?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition is playing politics, we're focused on delivering solutions. We are delivering a national school food program that's going to help 400,000 kids have fuller bellies at schools across the country and save Canadian families $800 a year on grocery bills. And if the Leader of the Opposition actually cared about food security in this country, you might imagine he'd have voted for that. Instead, not only did he vote against it, he pretends it doesn't exist. He pretends it hasn't happened. He's gaslighting Canadians on the things we're doing to fight affordability challenges. Instead, he's just offering political games.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's a food program without food. It hasn't served a single ham sandwich, not a single bowl of Kraft dinner, not even a piece of broccoli has been forced upon an unwilling kid. Mr. Speaker, this is meant to feed bureaucracy, not feed kids. Meanwhile, there's a 42% increase in the food bank use in Mississauga, and 2 million Canadians are lined up at food banks. 1/4 of children are going hungry after 9 years of his carbon taxes. Why can't we have a carbon tax election?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if the Leader of the Opposition actually cared about vulnerable Canadians, he'd be offering solutions, not just more politics. He'd stood against the price on pollution.
Colleagues, we're going to ask the Right Honourable Prime Minister to start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, this campus conservative.
What is up, Peter Grimshaw? Good to see you. If I missed anybody today, I do try to catch everybody. Wolfhound, good to see you. There's a few new people in the room. Anyways, back to the show.
Conservative turned career politician doesn't actually care about Canadians. What he is actually doing is proposing to take money out of the pockets of 8 of the 10 Canadians who do better with the Canada carbon rebate while we fight climate change. He stood against dental care that is delivering for over 800,000 people across this country, something he still says doesn't exist. He's standing against the school food policy that is helping 400,000 kids get better food across the country. He stood against childcare. He has stood against affordability measures.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, when you quadruple the tax on the farmers who grow the food and on the truckers who ship the food, you tax all who buy the food. The Canadian Trucking Alliance has calculated that the carbon tax will cost $20,000 for every long-haul truck this year alone. Now he wants to quadruple the tax, which will grind those trucks to a halt, meaning empty shelves in grocery stores, no parts for factories, and no paychecks for our workers. Instead of doing that, why not call a carbon tax election so that Canadians can axe the tax and save our economy?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I suspect that, like me, you have noticed that the Leader of the Opposition is particularly full of shameless slogans today. The reality is he has nothing to offer Canadians. He has nothing but political slogans and easy attacks on politics. No actually moving forward on delivering on programs that are going to help Canadians. No stepping up to put more money in people's pockets. He's offering tax breaks for the wealthiest and cuts for services and programs to everyone else. That's not what Canadians need right now.
I'd like to remind the Right Honourable Prime Minister and all members of this House that this is not an avenue where we want to go down. It can easily get out of control, and I would suggest that we don't go that close to the line. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Order! The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, every time I mention a carbon tax election, he becomes so panicked and erratic that he loses control of himself and starts spitting out incomprehensible insults. When Canadians deserve us focusing on them. The fact that after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, we have 2 million people lined up at food banks, a record-smashing number. After 9 years, 1 in 4 kids are going to school hungry. Before more kids go to school hungry, why can't we have a carbon tax election so that Canadians can axe the tax and afford their food?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Canada Carbon Rebate puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians right across the country. It supports the middle class and people working hard to join it while we successfully fight against climate change, reduce emissions, and grow the economy. But the leader opposite still doesn't understand that you can't have an economic plan if you don't have an environmental plan. His plan is to abandon the fight against climate change, leave Canadians to their own devices, lower taxes for the wealthiest, leave everyone else to fend for themselves. That's not what Canadians do.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Not only is his minister being mocked in Quebec's media, but also it's being said that we voted against bringing retirement age down to 65 and voted against increasing the OAS. But it was always buried in bills with other interference and measures which were unacceptable for Quebec. The Prime Minister and his minister are misleading people. Can the Prime Minister admit that there was never a specific vote just on increasing the GIS or just on the retirement age? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Well, the Bloc Québécois leader becomes incredibly defensive when we suggest that they're only here to pick fights, that they're only here to oppose measures which will be good for Quebecers and for Canadians. They do not want the Government of Canada to work well for Quebecers. That's why the Bloc Québécois voted against dental care, which is now helping hundreds of thousands of Canadians everywhere in Canada and in Quebec. It is getting these people dental treatment that they could not have afforded previously. We're here to invest in Quebecers and Canadians. The Bloc Québécois is here to pick fights. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. The Prime Minister defends horror stories worthy of Halloween, even though this Halloween might be his last as Prime Minister. Up to 1 million Quebecers, up to 4 million Canadians are affected by the Bloc Québécois bill. The Prime Minister has not clearly replied to our question. The Prime Minister allowed his minister to insult the intelligence of organizations which represent seniors. Does the Prime Minister realize that he is causing financial vulnerability among 4 million Canadians, which includes 1 million Quebecers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have clearly shown that we are always there for seniors. We always invest in seniors and we invest in the most vulnerable. That's what we did when we increased the GIS by $1,000 for the most vulnerable seniors. This is what we're doing in helping older seniors have a bit more money in their pockets because they live longer and sometimes their savings run out, all while costs are rising. We will always be here to listen and to think about how we can best support seniors. We will always support seniors, we'll always be there for seniors, but we will not be there for block squabbles. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Magazine asked this question this week: why is Canada's economy falling behind America's? It goes on to note that national income per person was 80% of the U.S. in Canada in the decade before the pandemic, and is now just 70%, the worst gap in decades. So will the Prime Minister doesn't answer my questions, maybe he'll answer the economist's questions. Why is our economy falling so far behind the Americans? Is it because of his quadrupling carbon tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, one of the reasons why foreign direct investment is up by 60% since 2015 is because, contrary to what the Harper government put forward, we're actually leading on the fight against climate change, on green energy, on a responsible building for a sustainable future that means countries around the world want to invest. In fact, last year, Mr. Speaker, we were the third largest recipient in the world of foreign direct investment after U.S. and Brazil, which makes us number one in the G20 for people investing in Canada. We're going to continue to invest.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, Canada's workers get 55 cents of investment for every dollar an American worker gets, and only 65 cents for every dollar an OECD average worker gets. For a net 450 billion Canadian investment dollars have poured out into the U.S., more than have come back under this Prime Minister's 9 years. And The Economist points out that our GDP per capita is now lower than Alabama. And it says, and I quote, "Catching up to Alabama may soon seem like a distant dream." Why?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are facing difficult times right now, which is why we made the choice to invest in things like dental care, like cutting child care fees in half for families right across the country, $10 a day in 6 jurisdictions across the country. Why we've chosen to step up on dental, why we're choosing to step up on pharmacare to deliver free insulin and prescription contraceptives to people who are having to make choices between their health and their rent or their food. These are the things we're choosing to make because we are putting the best balance sheet in the G7, the lowest deficit in the G7, in service of Canadians who need support.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canada has the worst mortgage debt, the worst inflation, housing inflation, that is, and the most significant consumer debt of all G7 nations. Now, The Economist has asked the following question: why is Canada falling behind the American economy? The GDP per capita in Canada is only 70% of what it is in the States. So here is the question in The Economist: why are Canadians falling behind Americans? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the International Monetary Fund has projected that Canada will have stronger growth next year than the United States. We are at the top of the pack in the G7 when it comes to having the smallest debt to GDP and deficit to GDP ratio. Our macroeconomic situation is very sound. Here's what we want to do for Canadians. We want to offer them services and programs which will help them, like dental care, like school food programs. We are here to invest. The Conservatives are here to cut. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. The GDP, that is, the per capita growth in Canada, is lower today than it was 10 years ago. This is the worst GDP growth per capita of all Canadian prime ministers in decades. There's also been the most significant consumer debt of all G7 countries, and now our GDP per capita is lower than Alabama's, Mr. Speaker. How is it that while America is getting richer, Canadians and Canada are becoming poorer. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, our population growth has been stronger than that of other G7 countries. That has also led to positive things. Our economy has grown. Our growth is speeding up. We're projected to grow our economy faster than the United States next year. We also have the best budget situation of all G7 countries. We are not opting for austerity and cuts like the Conservatives do. We prioritize the programs and services that Canadians need, because that's how we'll get through this. The Right Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie.
Mr. Speaker, homelessness kills. It's not a picture, but it's a sad reality. People are dying in the streets. And that's why the federal housing advocate urged this Liberal government to take concrete action on the encampment crisis. Since then, nothing at all. The minister has done nothing. People are still spending the nights in their cars or on the street. It's a real crisis, but not for this government. What will it take for the Liberals to provide a roof, a bed, and security for the homeless across this country? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in municipalities across the country to help them invest and support people who are homeless. We are taking action, Mr. Speaker, but we understand that this is a shared jurisdiction between the provinces, municipalities, and yes, the federal government. Yes, we can be here to invest, which is what we're doing. No one should have to sleep in the street in Canada, and that's why we're here to make the necessary investment with the municipalities and provinces. Unfortunately, it's something that the Conservatives want to cut.
The Honourable Member from Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Cette réponse est clairement pas assez. Mr. Over 2,600 veterans in Canada without a home. Legions and community organizations in Nanaimo Ladysmith are doing what they can, but need the support. Shamefully, the Liberals promised funds in the 2022 budget, yet veterans have yet to see a dime. Liberals break promises and Conservatives cut help. Veterans and their families deserve better. Why is the Prime Minister, like Conservatives, okay with leaving veterans in the cold?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when the Conservatives nickeled and dimed veterans and shuttered veteran services offices, we not only reopened them, but we invested tens of billions of dollars in more supports for veterans right across this country. We've continued to work with veterans organizations, with municipal authorities to deliver on more housing, on greater supports for veterans. We know there's more to do, but we have invested tens of billions of dollars in this issue, and we will continue to be there for veterans, unlike Conservatives that keep using them for photo ops and nickel and diming them at the same time.
The Honourable Member from Scarborough Agincourt.
27% of the residents in my riding of Scarborough Agincourt are seniors. They remember when the previous government cut their pensions, increased the retirement age, and made life more difficult for them. Since 2015, our government has provided much-needed relief for seniors. Can the Prime Minister remind Canadians of the concrete vision we have taken to support seniors across the country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for Scarborough Agincourt for her question and her hard work. She's right. Seniors remember the Harper era. One of the very first things we did when we got elected was to restore retirement age to 65 after the Conservatives raised it to 67, and we monumentally boosted seniors' benefits, both GIS and OAS. And today, 800,000 Canadians, many of them seniors, have been able to see the dentist thanks to our dental care program. While the opposition leader would bring seniors back to the Harper era, we've chosen fairness for every generation.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Not only has the Prime Minister and his government taxed Canadians into poverty, his former Environment Minister called single moms and small businesses arsonists because they oppose the carbon tax. Meanwhile, He ignored the warnings of his own Parks Department that the Jasper Valley had turned into a tinderbox. Warnings that go back to 2017, 7 years ago. Repeated warnings to clear the brush and do controlled burns. Why didn't his government do the job and prevent or mitigate this disastrous fire?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is always astonishing to hear the Leader of the Opposition talk about the impacts of the extreme weather events related to climate change while he opposes any climate action at all. He has no plan to fight climate change, which means no plan for affordability, which means no plan for the future of the Canadian economy. We have a price on pollution that is putting more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians where it applies, and is bringing down emissions and creating growth and jobs. That's what Canadians need.
Hey, Digger D, what's up? If you're looking for some frustration, you found the spot to find it. That's for certain. Mark LaForest, welcome. Good to see you. Back to the show. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining in.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he pretends you can put out forest fires with taxes. Clearly that has not worked. Rather, what he should have done is listen to his own officials who said that the mass buildup of fuel in the Jasper Valley as a result of dead trees needed to be addressed through controlled burns and other clearing methods, and also preparation so that we would have the ability to fight the fire if and when it ever started. All of this is documented in email correspondence and now testimony at a parliamentary committee. Instead of taxing Canadians into poverty, why didn't he fight forest fires?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker,
just in case I missed Sky Orange, good afternoon, Sky Orange. How you doing? I try to catch everybody, but there's a lot of folks.
Jasper was one of the most fire-smart communities in the country. Over the past years, residents and leaders within Jasper have been exemplary in making sure they were doing everything they could to protect their community. This fire, Mr. Speaker, was a treetop fire. It jumped from treetop to treetop and through flaming pine cones kilometers ahead of it, which is what set this burn. This is a result of climate change, Mr. Speaker. Climate change he doesn't want to fight.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that kind of erratic screaming and hollering is not going to tackle the problem of forest fires, screaming about flying pine cones, etc. It's true, the people of Jasper were fire smart. The problem is that the government in Ottawa was fire stupid. They were warned. This government was warned repeatedly over 7 years that they needed to clear the dead wood to prevent the spread of a future fire. Why, instead of bringing in a crippling carbon tax, didn't he clear away the wood and stop leaving a tinderbox to explode?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one of the jewels of Canada's natural beauty burned because of climate change. And his focus is trying to blame Ottawa for that. That, Mr. Speaker, is completely irresponsible and shameful. But we have all seen that from this Conservative leader, who would rather try and rile people up and point figures than actually try to solve any of the challenges Canadians are facing, either today with affordability or tomorrow with climate change. That's not leadership.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I'll tell you it's not leadership. I'll tell you it's not leadership. That in February of this year, email correspondence within his government confirmed that they were cancelling a controlled burn specifically for political optics. They did not want to do controlled burns. They did not want to do the same kind of forest management and maintenance that Indigenous people had done for thousands of years, and that had been recommended by both people on the ground and officials in the department. The reality is he didn't do his job. He should be accountable and explain why he let the valley go up in smoke and used a carbon tax to hide behind it all.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in this era of droughts and rising temperatures and climate change, there are certainly reasons that most reasonable people could imagine why the opting for a mechanical removal of underbrush instead of flaming them, instead of setting them on fire, might be a better option. Mr. Speaker, the attack on experts, the attack on science, and the refusal to understand that if we do not act in fighting against climate change with everything we have, then there will be no economy of the future. There will be no Jasper to rebuild. There will be no future for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the Prime Minister so he can continue to try to deliver. C-282 on supply management has been at the Senate for a year and a half. There's one article, one non-elected Senate. It seems to be controlling the Prime Minister. It's his senators, those he appointed, that are obstructing it. Will he require them to respect democracy and the choice of elected officials? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on many occasions, just also when we voted for this bill, we would like to reassure and ensure farmers, producers and all Canadians that we're always going to protect supply management. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're going to always do. By renegotiating all other free trade agreements, we're going to protect supply management. The Senate is independent, Mr. Speaker. It does its work, and we're going to allow democracy to work without interference, but we are always clear we're going to defend supply management. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. I always thought that the Prime Minister had a hard time understanding the notion of independence. But I think the issue with all this is that two bills that we're talking about between now and October 29th come from the bloc. Everyone here has already voted for them. When it's an issue, the money is there, the time is there, and the only majority that this Prime Minister has is that.
All right, guys, just going to drop back in here while the block is wasting our time. Number one, Dad, how are you doing? Good to see you. Adam Louise, what is up? Advanka, avoid the woke. How are you doing? Daniel Price, don't think I caught you today. Good to see you, man. Digger D, good to see you, man. Always a pleasure. Hippie 17, it's great to have you here. Storm, in case I missed you, we're taking advantage of this time now. And XNXS, I don't know. It's not a good idea to put your handle in fancy, in a way that it can't be read because a person can't respond. I don't know how to respond to you. Anyhow, just something to think about. And Trevor Whitman, always a pleasure, bro. Poilievre's in French, don't worry about it.
Thousands of jobs in the forestry sector. The Minister of the Environment in Quebec said that the Bloc has not defended jobs strongly enough in the Quebec regions. Will the Prime Minister call an election so that the future government of the Conservatives can get rid of this decree and defend jobs in the forestry industry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, every day in this House, the Leader of the Opposition shows once again that he doesn't understand that we can't have an economy without protecting the environment at the same time. And that's exactly what we're doing by working with the forestry industry and the Quebec government. We want to make sure that, yes, we're going to protect species at danger, at risk, and we're also going to protect good jobs, not only for today, but for decades to come. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. He's not protecting the environment or jobs. 280 workers will be losing their jobs in the Outaouais and elsewhere in Quebec because after 9 years and 3 U.S. presidents, this Prime Minister hasn't been able to solve the softwood lumber tariff issue. So will he call in elections to allow Quebecers to elect a government that will reach an agreement and protect jobs in the forestry sector? The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, during the NAFTA negotiations, the renegotiations where jobs in aluminum and steel across the country were at risk, we stood up to properly negotiate in the interest of Canadians, while the Conservatives were encouraging us to accept just anything the Americans are putting forward because we had to not irritate the Americans at any cost. We were there for deliver, not to stand down. We are here to work for Canadian workers and for the Canadian economy, and we're going to continue to do so. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Well, accepting to back down. Well, he accepted an agreement without protection for the forestry industry. It's the same thing with spending. It's the most costly government in history. We've doubled national debt, but the Bloc keeps this PM in power by voting 180 times, trusting him, and for $500 billion in inflationary spending and centralizing spending that has also committed to another 100,000 federal public servants. How come this Bloc Liberal coalition continues to take Quebecers' money, keep it in Ottawa, and wasting it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers know full well what austerity costs and Conservative cuts cost. They lived through it during the Harper years. They have chosen a government that has trust in Canadians, that invests in Canadians, and that's exactly what we're doing. And that is why that we're putting more money back in the pockets of Canadians with our strong fiscal balance federally, track record that the Conservatives are denying, and they're proposing cuts in services and tax cuts for the richest. That's what Canadians and Quebecers don't want. The Honourable Member for Ottawa-Vanier. Mr. Speaker, Canada's small and medium-sized enterprises keep our country's main streets prosperous, create well-paying jobs, and fulfill the dream of entrepreneurship. It's essential for these businesses thrive so they can continue to be the bedrock of our communities and our economy. Can the Prime Minister tell Canadians what measures have been taken to support small and medium-sized businesses? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for Ottawa-Vanier for her leadership and her hard work. Yesterday was a really good day for small and medium-sized businesses in Canada. The Canada tax rebate for small businesses has allowed us to now roughly 6,000 companies in Canada will receive around $2.5 million before the end of the year. This means that small businesses in Ontario will be able to invest in their activities and create good jobs and strengthen our economy, while the Conservative leader wants to take these checks away from Canadian companies.
Thank you, Gus Papas. That's incredible, man. Thank you so much for the 10 bones. We're going to use that somewhere. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining the chat. It's amazing. Thank you.
So what has he done? Well, he's now sending out his appointment.
Companies, we defend these entrepreneurs that are working hard to advance our economy. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Max Carney, at the moment of his appointment as the head of the economic task force of this government, said he wanted to do something and not be something. So what has he done? Well, he's now sending out fundraising letters to raise cash for the Liberal Party. 2, he's asked for $10 billion of corporate welfare to help his multinational corporation take over the pension funds of Canadians. And he's got his pal a $2 billion loan. Did the Prime Minister, yes or no, clear all of these actions of carbon tax Carney with the lobbying commissioner?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one of the things we're seeing right across the country are experts and people who've succeeded in all sorts of different backgrounds stepping up to push back against the cuts and little vision that the Conservative Party has been putting forward. The fact is, the Leader of the Opposition is offering cuts to services that Canadians are relying on and offering tax breaks to the wealthiest, like Conservatives always do. We're there to invest for every generation. No wonder Canadians from all backgrounds are stepping up to be part of pushing back against that Conservative leader.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
You, Mr. Speaker, have said that this Prime Minister is violating the rules of the House by refusing to hand over SDTC documents on a corporate welfare scandal of $400 million that the Auditor General says involved 186 conflict of interest, where bureaucrats, top officials in this Liberal government, were giving millions of dollars to their own companies. Will the Prime Minister hand over the information to the police? And if not, what's he got to hide?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader just mentioned both the police and the Auditor General. Let me say what they have said. Both the RCMP and the Auditor General have raised concerns about how this motion jeopardizes their independence in serving Canadians. The Conservative Party wants to play politics with Canadians' charter rights. We will not support that.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So his idea of a charter right is that you have the right as a top government executive to take $400 million of other people's money and give it to your own company and then hide the criminal evidence from the police. Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have the charter right to know where their money went. So will the Prime Minister accept your order and the vote of this House to turn over the documents to the police so that we can put the bad guys in jail and get back the money that was stolen?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, once again, the Conservative Party has demonstrated that it is willing to upend the independence of institutions like the RCMP and the Auditor General for political gain. That is what they are proposing to do. They want to direct investigations. They want control over judicial processes in their details. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, that's banana republic style behavior that the Conservative Party is pushing. We will always stand up for Canadians' charter rights and the independence of our institutions.
The Honourable Member from Vaughan Woodbridge.
Mr. Speaker, I want to welcome to Parliament Hill everyone joining us to celebrate the vibrant Latin American and Hispanic community in Canada. We proudly recognize the contributions of Latinos to every facet of Canadian society, from business and journalism to the House of Commons. Their diverse voices and talents are woven into Canada's social fabric. Can the Prime Minister tell us how our government is honouring the traditions and cultures of fellow Canadians of Latino and Hispanic descent and delivering programs to support families and businesses while growing an inclusive economy? Thank you.
Good question.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I'm happy to thank the member for Vaughan Woodbridge for his question and his excellent work representing his constituents. Many Latin Canadians came here as immigrants or refugees, strengthening our cultural mosaic and contributing to Canada's growth and prosperity. While the Conservatives want to cut supports and programs for Latin Canadians and their families, we are lowering rents and building affordable homes. We're investing in $10 a day child care, dental care, and the Canada Child Benefit. We're supporting businesses and festivals, and we're combating hate with community-driven approaches. Happy Latin American Heritage Month.
And I ask the honourable member from Lakeland to please not take the microphone, take the floor unless recognised by the Speaker. The honourable member from Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Nice to hear the Prime Minister taking credit for all the wins that the NDP brought to this House. Starlight Investments, a corporate landlord, is targeting their tenants with unfair rent hikes. And the Conservatives and the Liberals partnered to help Starlight's CEO avoid coming to committee and explain why he's pricing Canadians out of their homes. It's no surprise because this CEO was a major donor to the Conservative Party. Why is the Prime Minister, like the Conservatives, protecting the companies who are fueling the housing crisis?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'll take no lessons on progressive politics from a party that ran away when the pressures got hot from the Conservative Party of Canada. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we were able to work.
Watch this hypocrisy, guys. This is hypocrisy at its worst. Oh my God. Zrillo comes out there like an NDP, like, flake, attacking the Liberals, which they've only backed, trying to take credit for, oh my Lord.
Constructively as progressive parliamentarians to deliver big things for Canadians over the past few years, but the NDP choosing to turn its back on pricing pollution and putting more money in people's pockets, perhaps turning their back on pharmacare, which we will be debating over the coming months, is a real shame. Yes, it's tough to be a progressive in this time, but we will continue to stand strong for progressive values in this House.
The honourable member from Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, last year the Minister of International Development defended UNRWA as one of his, quote, trusted agencies, end quote. He didn't even wait for the UN's report on UNRWA's complicity in the October 7th massacre and reinstated funding. This trusted agency is now requesting immunity for staff who took part in the terrorist attack that killed over 1,200 people. UNRWA was also forced to confirm an employee killed in Lebanon was a Hamas leader. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister share his minister's trust for an agency that employs terrorists?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we are committed to ensuring full accountability, decisive action, and the implementation of necessary reforms to UNRWA. Right now, we need to respond to the horrific humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. We're calling for a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Lebanon, between Hezbollah and Israel. We know that we condemn Iran for its horrific attack. Israel has the right to respond, but we certainly hope there is not further escalation of this conflict as it spreads further and further and harms more civilians.
I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Kent Smith, Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture for the province.
Yeah, gang, we're not going to worry too much about Jeff Smith and his honorarium there. So, what a frustrating show. The NDP showed their true colors today, and it is frustrating to see. Like, I watch a lot of this politics stuff, right? And again, I don't really have a side other than I want things better for the typical Canadian. And I know that what is a typical Canadian, that is shifting. It's been rough. Anyhow, at the end here, what we're going to try to do is go out on a phone call. I've got another one of the great folks that hang out in the chat room. I want to show you people, or show everyone how easy it is to do this. And we're going to give our friend Rory a call and see if we can get you. We're going to see. Pick up. All right, well, we're not going to use anybody more with that. We tried. So, what we're going to do now is just exit. We've got this great intro, guys. It's been a challenging couple of days. I got in a lot of trouble on Sunday night for showing that piece on Rescue the Republic that Brett Weinstein organized. Seemed pretty clean to me, but I caught my first no-no from Big Brother here, and ever since I've been scrutinized. And again, I'm not all about the money, but I do make these videos like for a living, and they've cut me off financially, so that sucks. It'll pass, like hopefully sooner rather than later. That's the way it goes sometimes. You want to know what? I've got the rest of... No, well... Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Sorry, guys. Gonna try this. Hello.
Hello.
What's up? We don't have an audio, or pardon me, a video on you. Hey, Rory, everybody. This is Rory from the chat room. Doesn't seem to have his video hooked up yet. I think he can hear me. It is hooked up.
I don't know what's going on. Turn on video. There we go. Here I am.
Share video, yes.
Yes.
All right, everybody. So this is Rory Kennedy from our chat room.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing today, Rory? No audio on your
Good.
end?
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, so is this going through clean or not? Okay,
Here I am.
What's up? We're out, Rory. We'll catch Rory another time, guys. That's it. I'm Ehren. We're gonna wrap up for now. Sorry for the end of the show there, guys. Got a little funky at the end. Yeah, we're just out on this.
Oh, hello. Do you have a warrant to be here?
It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change.
Wiggle and squirm as you might, it is really hard to put lipstick on a pig.
When I'm Prime Minister, I will keep my promises.
WTF.
Here.
I know this place is where I am. No other place is better than. No matter where I go, I am proud to be Canadian. I am, you know I am. The world that works.
The one we call Canadian.
Gentlemen,
beam me aboard.
All right, gang. Sorry
today
for
of another
a bit of a couple of
terrorist
patch
attack in
issues
Tel
at the
Aviv.
end there.
More than 200 missiles launched.
My name's Ehren. This is Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe, get notified, all those fun things. We're learning about Canadian politics. And as we saw today in question period, there are reasons that we have to pay attention. That is it. Sorry that the end of the show didn't work out. We've got a few things to organize there. Anyhow, we're out. We'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. A wild Thursday show, I think, is going to follow the Wednesday. We're up for that. Let's get out. Thank you for watching. My name's Ehren. Canadian Looney. Like, subscribe, share, get notified. Especially get notified for these live shows, guys. This is where it's happening. Other people are like showing this. We're talking about it here and interacting with our amazing chat room. It's what a wonderful community. I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's chat room right now. That's how we're gonna end this off, guys. I'm out. This is Ehren, Canadian Looney. Catch you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.